Most people think that adding years to your life means spending hours in a gym, following complicated fad diets, or waiting for some breakthrough medical procedure that's still years away. But what if I told you that the secret to extending your health span, the number of years you actually feel good, is hiding in the first 10 minutes of your morning? We are not talking about heavy lifting or intense cardio. We are talking about a specific sequence of movements and biological triggers that, when done right, tell your body to turn on its internal repair systems, dampen inflammation, and sharpen your focus before you've even had your first cup of coffee. Here is the reality. After 60, your body's morning ignition sequence starts to misfire. You wake up stiff, your metabolism feels sluggish, and your mental clarity takes an hour to kick in. You might just brush this off as getting older. But what if that stiffness is actually a signal that your cellular rhythm is out of sync? What if those groggy mornings are costing you not just your day, but your long-term vitality? In this video, I'm going to walk you through a simple, evidence-based 10-minute morning routine that you can do right in your living room or kitchen. No equipment, no struggle, and no complex training. We are looking at a system that targets your nervous system, your joints, and your metabolic health simultaneously. But I need to be clear. If you get the order of these movements wrong, you miss the benefit. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phone or rush to get dressed, bypassing the exact window where their body is most receptive to positive change. I'll show you exactly how to stack these habits to maximize their impact. If you've ever felt like your body is fighting against you in the mornings, stick with me. We are about to change the way you wake up. When we talk about adding years to your life, we aren't just talking about longevity in the abstract. We are talking about functional independence. My name is Dr. Arthur Clark, and for years I've specialized in helping men and women over 60 regain the vitality they thought was lost to time. I've seen firsthand that the difference between someone who is thriving at 80 and someone who is struggling is rarely down to genetics alone. It's about how you manage your physiology in the margins of your day, especially when you first open your eyes. You see, modern medicine is incredible at fixing things when they break, but it's not very good at teaching us how to keep our systems running smoothly in the first place. Your body is essentially a complex chemical factory. When you hit age 60, that factory doesn't shut down, but its operating procedures need an update. If you treat your body the same way you did at 30, you're going to run into efficiency problems. Slower recovery, stiff joints, and a metabolic rate that just doesn't want to get off the starting line. This routine I'm about to share isn't based on a quick-fix influencer trend. It is rooted in chronobiology, the study of how your body's internal clock influences everything from hormone production to tissue repair. By aligning these simple 10-minute movements with your morning wake-up cycle, you are essentially telling your brain and your cells, it's time to repair, it's time to move, and it's time to thrive. Quick favor before we go further. Drop your city, state, or country in the comments. When I see where people are watching from, it helps me tailor the advice for the specific environments you're dealing with where you live. I read every one of them. Now stay with me because what's coming next is the missing link that most people who struggle with morning fatigue completely overlook. To understand why this routine works, I want to tell you about a patient of mine. Let's call him Robert. When Robert first came to see me, he was 68 years old, and his morning routine was, frankly, a recipe for decline. He'd wake up to the alarm, reach for his phone to check emails, spend 20 minutes reading the news, and then shuffle to the kitchen for a heavy, sugary breakfast. He told me he felt like he was putting on a suit of armor every single morning just to handle basic tasks. His back ached, his knees felt like rusty hinges, and by 10 a.m. he was already looking for a nap. Robert had tried everything. He went to a chiropractor, he bought expensive orthotic inserts, and he even tried a high-intensity exercise program that left him so sore he couldn't move for 3 days. But the problem wasn't his back, his shoes, or his lack of toughness. The problem was his morning transition. He was essentially forcing his body to jump from a state of total rest to high-stress activity without giving his internal systems the signal that the day had begun. When we look at biological longevity, we aren't looking for the person who grinds the hardest. We are looking for the person who aligns their biology with their environment. In Robert's case, his cortisol spike, That natural burst of energy your body releases in the morning wasn't being used. Instead of letting his body naturally wake up and process the day's stress, he was layering social media-induced anxiety on top of his physiological fatigue. We started changing just the first 10 minutes of his day. We took away the phone. We swapped the heavy, sugar-laden breakfast for movement that focused on lymph flow and nervous system regulation. Within 3 weeks, he wasn't just less stiff. He described a sense of mental clarity he hadn't felt in a decade. He wasn't relying on caffeine to get going, and that armor he felt like he was wearing, it had disappeared. He was moving freely, playing with his grandkids, and, most importantly, he felt like the pilot of his own body again. Robert's story isn't a miracle, it's just biology, functioning the way it was designed to. Now let's get into the mechanics. The first part of your 10-minute morning is what I call the metabolic primer. The goal here is to signal to your body that it's time to move out of the recovery phase of sleep and into active performance. Most of us start the day in a state of metabolic inertia, where our blood sugar is steady, but our cellular fuel efficiency is low. If you skip this, you're essentially running on low-grade fuel for the first few hours of your day. The first movement is a simple rhythmic activation called the gentle spine extension. You don't need a mat, and you don't need to get on the floor if that's uncomfortable. Stand with your feet hip-width apart and your arms relaxed by your sides. As you inhale slowly through your nose, and I mean deep into your belly, not just your chest, reach your arms up toward the ceiling. Don't force it. Just reach to a point where you feel a gentle stretch across your ribcage. Why does this matter? Your ribcage is attached to your spine, and by lengthening it, you're providing a mechanical signal to your autonomic nervous system that you are safe, alert, and ready to engage. Hold that reach for 3 seconds, then exhale fully as you bring your arms back down. Repeat this 5 times. The second step is what I call neural grounding. After the stretch, find a steady surface. The back of a sturdy kitchen chair works perfectly. Place your hands on it, not for support, but for feedback. Now, rise up onto the balls of your feet, very slowly. We are focusing on the calf muscles, which acts as the second heart of your body. Your calves are responsible for pumping venous blood back up to your heart. By engaging these muscles, you are physically encouraging better circulation before you've even moved from the kitchen. Do 10 of these controlled raises. Feel the connection between your feet and the floor. This is not about building muscle mass. It's about stimulating your proprioception, the way your brain perceives where your body is in space. After 60, proprioception is the #1 factor in preventing falls. When your brain knows exactly where your feet are, your balance improves automatically. By combining the ribcage expansion for breath and the calf raises for circulation, you've primed your metabolic and nervous systems. You aren't just awake, you're internally online. Before we move into the joint reset, I need to address something that keeps me up at night. There is a persistent myth in our culture that says after 60, pain is just the price of admission. We tell ourselves that because our knees click or our shoulders feel heavy, we have to scale back, stop moving, and accept a smaller version of our lives. But here is the truth that goes against everything you've been told. Movement is not just for fitness. It is a vital anti-inflammatory signal. Most people treat their joints like old machinery. They think if they move them, they'll wear them down. But your joints are not like car parts. They are living biological tissues. They don't have a direct blood supply like your muscles do. Instead, they rely on movement to pull in nutrient-rich fluid and push out cellular waste. When you stay still, your joints are literally starving. They aren't wearing out, they're drying out. The most destructive thing you can do for your longevity is to save your joints by sitting still. When you stop moving, your synovial fluid, the natural lubricant in your joints, thickens. That's why you feel that initial stiffness in the morning. It isn't damage, it's stagnation. The shift you need to make is simple but profound. Stop looking for exercise as a separate event in your day. Start looking at every single movement as a dose of medicine for your joints. The next part of this routine is specifically designed to flush those joints with fresh nutrients and reset your alignment. If you felt like your body was failing you, I want you to realize it's actually just waiting for you to provide the right conditions to repair itself. Stay with me, Because the joint reset we're doing next is where most people notice the biggest difference. Now that we've primed your metabolism, it's time to move into the circadian and joint reset. This is the part of your morning that syncs your body to the daylight and lubricates those stiff, achy areas. Most seniors experience the most joint pain in the morning because the body has been horizontal for hours, slowing down fluid circulation. We are going to fix that with 2 gentle, high-impact movements. The first movement is shoulder girdle rotations. You don't need to lift weights for this. Stand tall and imagine a string pulling the top of your head toward the ceiling. Roll your shoulders up toward your ears, then back and finally down, pinching your shoulder blades together just slightly. Do this slowly, 5 times. Then, reverse it. Back, up, and forward. Why this specific motion? Your shoulders are the bridge between your neck and your thoracic spine. Most of us spend our lives hunched over at a desk, a kitchen counter, or a smartphone. This rotation opens the chest, decompresses the neck, and signals to your brain that you are in a posture of confidence. When your shoulders are back, your lungs can expand fully, which significantly increases your oxygen intake, and more oxygen equals less fatigue throughout the morning. The second movement is the seated hip hinge, which is essential for low back health. Find a sturdy chair, sit toward the edge, feet flat on the floor. Cross your arms over your chest. Now, keeping your back straight, don't let it curve like a C shape. Slowly hinge forward at your hips, bringing your torso toward your knees. You should feel a gentle stretch in your glutes and your lower back. Only go as far as is comfortable. When you hinge, exhale. When you return to the upright position, inhale. Repeat this 10 times. This movement is a game changer because it teaches your body how to load your hips rather than your lower back. Most back injuries happen when we bend over incorrectly, putting all the pressure on the delicate lumbar vertebrae. By practicing this hinging motion in a controlled environment, you are building the neural pathways to move safely for the rest of the day. These 2 movements, the shoulder rotation and the hip hinge, take less than 4 minutes, but they essentially re-grease your major joints and reset your posture, giving you a physical foundation that lasts until you head to bed. I want to take a moment to ground this in some real science. You might be wondering, Dr. Clark, is this really enough to make a difference? A compelling study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society looked at exactly this, the impact of consistent, low-intensity morning movement on the physical functional markers of adults over 65. The researchers tracked participants over a period of 6 months. One group followed a high-intensity gym-based regimen, while the other group performed a simple daily routine focused on mobility, breathing, and proprioception, very similar to what we've discussed today. The results were startling. The group that focused on the mobility-based morning routine actually showed higher adherence rates, significantly lower levels of reported joint pain, and most importantly, a 25% improvement in their scores on the Timed Up and Go test, a clinical standard for measuring fall risk and mobility independence. What this tells us is that you don't need to tax your system to reap the benefits of movement. When you perform these movements, you are stimulating the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain. It supports the survival of existing neurons and encourages the growth of new synapses. This is why you feel mentally sharper after moving. You are literally creating a better biological environment for your brain to function. Furthermore, a study in the American Journal of Physiology demonstrated that morning movement influences your cortisol slope. By engaging in gentle, controlled movement right when you wake up, you help your body regulate its cortisol levels more effectively throughout the day. This prevents that mid-afternoon crash that so many seniors struggle with. It's not just about your joints. It's about signaling to your entire endocrine system that it's time to be alert and energized. Science confirms that this isn't just feeling better. It's measurably improving your body's internal efficiency. You are literally using biology to add quality to your years. Now that you have the movements, the most critical step is consistency. The trap most people fall into is thinking they need to set aside a specific workout time. But life gets busy. Instead, I want you to use habit stacking. You take a habit you already have, like waiting for the coffee to brew or waiting for the tea kettle to whistle, and you stack this routine right on top of it. For example, While you are waiting for your morning beverage, do your gentle spine extensions and neural grounding calf raises. You're already standing there. You're already awake. By attaching these movements to an existing trigger, you remove the need for willpower. It's no longer a chore you have to remember. It's just part of your morning flow. If you want to take this a step further, add what I call the hydration signal. Your body loses nearly a pint of water while you sleep. Most people reach for coffee first, which acts as a mild diuretic. Before you have that coffee, drink 1 full glass of water. It doesn't need to be cold. Room temperature is often easier on the stomach. That water is the final piece of the puzzle. It helps your joints absorb the movement you've just done, and it flushes out the metabolic waste your body processed while you were resting. I also recommend doing these movements in front of a mirror at least for the first week. It sounds simple, but watching yourself perform the seated hip hinge helps your brain connect the visual feedback to the internal sensation. It corrects your form faster than any instructor could. You'll notice exactly where your back rounds or where you're carrying tension in your neck. By the end of the second week, these movements will feel second nature. You won't be counting, you'll be feeling. And that is the moment you transition from doing a routine to embodying a new, healthier identity. We have covered a lot today, but I want you to remember one final thing. Longevity is not a destination you reach after years of struggle. It is a state of being that you cultivate every single morning. By giving your body these 10 minutes, you are investing in your independence, your mobility, and your mental clarity. You are choosing to stop getting older and start growing better. You don't need a medical degree to understand that your body responds to the signals you give it. If you give it stiffness, it remains stiff. If you give it gentle, intentional movement, it finds its rhythm again. It repairs, it lubricates, and it performs. That choice is yours, every single time the sun comes up. Before we wrap up, I have one last question for you. If you could regain one activity you've given up, whether it's gardening, long walks, or playing with your grandkids, what would that be? I want to know what this extra health span means to you. Leave a comment below. I read everyone, and your answers help me create better content for this community. If you found this routine helpful, please hit the like button. It tells YouTube that you value evidence-based, practical advice for our senior community. And be sure to subscribe and share this with someone over 60 who could use a better start to their morning. I'm Dr. Carter. Keep moving, keep thriving, and I'll see you in the next video.